this young man that I'm interviewing has said that I'm the reason that he's still in Macon, Georgia. And I kind of remember seeing him at a place that I don't need to say where it was at the time. And we had a conversation. I think he had not been too long out of the armed services, and we talked. And he said, "Man, I'm going to go to New York or wherever he said he was going." I said, "Don't do that." I said, "We need good people in Central Georgia. We need some of the people who move away for various reasons, to go to college or to go to service or to get a job. We need some of those people to come back to their own hometown and get involved." So he did. As a matter of fact, not only did he come back, he ran for mayor and won 2 terms. So I guess I don't need to introduce him anymore because everybody probably knows who it is. This is the Honorable Jack Ellis, the former mayor for 2 terms of the city of Macon. And this is the first of a series of interviews that Andrea, Tracy, and I are going to do on the mayoral candidates. And of course, our objective is to impart information and for the candidates to impart whatever kind of information they think would be significant to their candidacy. And since I'm talking now, I'm going to continue to talk, and just set the tone for this interview, after which we'll give the former mayor the opportunity to talk what he wants to talk about. But specifically, I want to let you know the name of this show. This is a call to action.
A call to action.
This is a call to action.
A call to action.
And I'm your host, Alex Habersham, and I have with me the Honorable Jack Ellis. Most of you know, all of us know him. And thanks for coming to the show, man.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Alex. And you are absolutely right. You did persuade me, and I'm sure you persuaded other young people to come back and use their talents and their gifts in their hometown to help rebuild the city and go to work in the community. And you've been one of my role models from a whole lot of perspectives, especially from an entrepreneur's perspective. Every time I came to town, every time I would come home on vacation, I would always notice that you had a new business, whether it was a car wash or whether it was a newspaper, what have you. And that was always impressive to me. So whenever you said things, I always listened because you were a man that was getting things done. And I'm glad I did listen. I'm glad I did heeded your advice to come back. And the rest is history, as they say. Yes.
Well, thank you for coming. And I, of course, like you, am very, very concerned about the community. So I want to hit on basically 4 things today in our interview. And then you can approach them in any manner that you wish. First of all, I don't know whether you would like to take a couple of minutes to just say a little bit more about yourself from a biographical perspective.
Sure.
But once that has been done, I would like for you to talk about it, and I can ask you one at a time. And I'll just give you an overview now, and then we can come back to it if you kind of forget one of them during the course of the interview. But I want to talk about economic growth. Mm-hmm. You don't need to write them down. You talk about them all the time.
Okay.
Yeah, you don't need to write these, man. We want to talk about economic growth. What can be done to grow the community. We want to talk some about, pulling the community together.
Right.
I think the Trayvon Martin situation showed really how divided, the country is, and, both
and this community.
Yeah, both the country and this community. And I think that it's incumbent upon us, and I don't need to preach to you, that in order for us to grow, we have to come together. And then I want to talk some, I want to talk some about education. Mm-hmm. Because I know that you understand the role that education plays in our community. Then I also want to talk about quality of life. What kind of social things and museums and art and frankly entertainment and venues downtown.
Sure.
And we're seeing some of that. So Just start wherever you
Okay.
want to start.
Well, that's a lot to talk about, and things that I like to talk about, and something I know a little bit about.
Okay.
But let me, to those who are not aware, because we have had quite a few people fortunate move to our city since I left office in '07, the end of '07. So for their benefit, and for those who were not of age at the time that never had an opportunity to vote for me, they were 10, 12, 13 years old when I left, and now when I left office, and now they are old enough to vote. I'm Jack Ellis. I was born and raised in this city. Have a very humble beginning in my background. Very proud of it, but by the same token, a very humble beginning. Born one of 13 children, born in Bloomfield on Chambers Road, to a son of a sharecropper. My mother and father's 13 children, same mother, same father. And my father was my hero, even though he was a fourth grade scholar, Alex. He was my hero because any man that could support 13 children, 8 girls and 5 guys, and could support us in the way that he supported us, with the sweat of his brow, doing whatever was necessary, short of, and maybe even illegal. I think he even made liquor at one point, but that's just who. But he kept the family together. At one point, I think I had 3 or 4 sisters in college at one time. Mother didn't work outside of the household. He did all of the heavy lifting, if you will. But he inspired me. I looked up to him. He was my role model. He challenged me. He made sure that we got an education. He was even though he was only a 4th grade scholar himself, but he was very education oriented. He knew that if we were going to be successful in life, that we had to have an education. If not, we would find ourselves having to do some of the things that he had to do. And he always said, I never want you to have to do what I'm doing or what I've had to do, the things that I've had to swallow, the things I've had to take, just to make sure that I raised this family and kept this family together. So I come from that era, growing up in Macon, segregated Macon. You spoke about race, which we'll talk about later. 6 or 7 years ago, I was born in this town. And growing up in segregated Macon, attending segregated schools throughout the thing, prior to entering the military, and spent 21 years in the military, retiring, stayed overseas, then moved back to Macon, as I said earlier, at your behest. And so, but when I got back to Macon, I came back and I finally went to work for the Census Bureau. And that's what really opened my eyes to the conditions of our town. I never paid a lot of attention to it growing up. I thought everybody kind of lived like I lived, people that I knew. But I started looking at the statistics, and I saw that our city was very divided, both economically, socially, and racially. And because demographics is something that I really hang my hat on a lot, and I looked at how many people were in Macon, how many were living at the poverty line, how many were below the poverty line, how many made over $100,000 a year, how many made less than $20,000 a year. And I just saw some things that I thought were inherently wrong in our town that we needed to fix it. So I went to work, and in fact, started talking about it on TV, as you are, on Cox Cable. 1989, started a TV program, lasted 10 years until the time I was running for mayor in 99, and they took me off the air, rightly so, because it gave me probably an unfair advantage if I was still on TV during the campaign. But so that's that's who I am. I served 2 years in Vietnam in combat, traveled all over the world, got an education in the military, finished college during my time in the military. I came out of the military, went in just as a raw recruit, and came out and as a senior non-commissioned officer with a college degree, something that first male in my family. And I researched both paternal and maternal side, going back. I'm first male to ever obtain a college degree. Having said that, but my 2 daughters both have masters, and one is working on a PhD. So each generation doing better than the other. But getting back to the meat of the subject, and that is economic development. We must ensure that we have economic development not just in one part of our town, but all parts of our town. And therefore, part of our platform is to strengthen and support small businesses, especially disadvantaged women and minority-owned businesses, because that's where we have a liking, if you will. If you travel to South Macon, East Macon, we find that there is a market there. The demographics are there. The people are there. They're making money, maybe not as much, but yet they don't have some of the goods and services being provided to them that they have to go out of their community for. For instance, there's not one bank in South Macon. I'm not suggesting that we can just go out and open a bank. It takes time. There's not even a supermarket in South Macon, but yet the demographics in South Macon, if you look at the population, even though it used to be an all-white community, now it's predominantly black community, but the numbers are the same, and the per capita income is approximately the same. So by strengthening small businesses, what small businesses do, one or two things. We know they're the backbone of our economy. We know that. But what else they do? They hire people generally from that community to put them to work. So that we're creating jobs while we are also building the economic base. So we have to do that. And how do we do it? You say, well, okay, we give Bass Pro Shop. When I was in office, I remember Bass Pro Shop came before us from the Industrial Authority, and Kohl's department store wanted to build their big warehouse here. We gave them quite a nice package. Tax abatements. You would know about that, having been in the tax company. Tax abatement. Gave them land. And there's millions of dollars involved here. So I propose that if we take, say, half of that money, $20 million, put it in a pool or in a fund, a revolving fund. I don't mean just enough to get somebody in trouble, giving them $25,000, $30,000, just enough to get them in trouble, getting in business. But say to that person, because these companies would hire maybe 25, 30, maybe 200 or 300 people. So we say, okay, if we're going to give one company a $30 million package to hire 300 people, what if we take $20 million and let's incentivize, say, 100 small businesses that will hire 5 or 6 people? We got the same amount of employees, and we're creating wealth in the community as well. So I propose we do that. Economic development is definitely something we have to do. Yes, we have to work with the existing businesses. We have to bring big businesses in here, but small businesses we have to develop as well. So that's one thing. Now, as education, now the two go hand in hand. Being a formal educator, you understand this, that if we are in a businessman, if we are going to thrive as a community, we must, when we create jobs, we got to have people that can work in the jobs that we are creating. They must be, they must have the skills, the talent. We're in a new industry. We're in a new era where it's a knowledge-based economy. So we have to work hard on making sure that even though the mayor doesn't have direct involvement with education, but he can use the bullet pulpit to support education, to cajole, to inspire, to push, to do everything you can to inspire young people to get a good basic education. And hopefully we can get them in technical school and college beyond that. But a good basic education is a must in the society in which we live. No question about it. So we have to get that done. Now, the race relation thing is a bigger piece. What we have to do, we have to be very, very frank with ourselves when we discuss race. We have to be very honest with ourselves. And we have to look at a models that's been used around the world. See, what happened in the South primarily, and we're talking about where we are, especially Macon. If you look at statistics, here again, getting back to demographic statistics, the first census that were taken in Macon, Georgia in 1830 had equal whites and blacks, although blacks were slaves. There were 600 free Negroes at the time, they call it, colors, in Macon. And the rest were slaves, and of course equal amount, but the amount was equal. So then the Civil War we went through, building these men and women of African descent, built the city, laid these bricks you see in the streets, built City Hall, built every building here that was built before 1965 was built with free labor. But what happened after the Civil War? There was a major split in Macon. There were the people who lost the war. They were very bitter. They were antagonized. They were antagonistic with if you read the history of Macon, they even put posses or guards around the city limits and said, we don't want any more Negroes coming to Macon, Georgia, who were coming from the farms in Houston County and other places. We have enough. We don't want them here. So it was very hostile. We didn't go through, if you will, we went through Reconstruction. We didn't go through reconciliation. We've never had reconciliation. That's the difference in South Africa, which had a very racist regime. But when Mandela got out of jail, he says, we got to have reconciliation between the races. We got to sit and talk. We got to realize that there are differences in us, but our differences should not kill us or tear us apart. So I think we need to have a reconciliation, to be honest with our feelings, how we feel, how we've gotten to this place. And as the president said last week, we have to look at it historically. We look at it through a historical prism, and whereas some of our white brothers and sisters don't have that history, so they can't look at it that way. For instance, I use this as an example. When I was at Ballard Hudson High School, I wanted to wear the uniform of the junior ROTC of the Army, of the kids. But only white kids at Lanier could wear it. I couldn't wear it. That has cost me probably $1 million, that decision, because had I gone in the Army as a private first class rather than just a buck private, as the kids from Lanier did, I would have made rank much faster. I would have become a lieutenant. So therefore, in my retirement, the money I'm getting is a direct result of those policies that we had. But we must look forward with hope and not to the rear with bitterness. We have to look at our history, but we can't live back there. We got to move forward, and hopefully we can all move forward together. So that's economic development, that's race relation, and equality to life. It goes without saying. We have some of the best weather. If you look at the per capita days per year that it rains here, the days per year that the sun is shining, we have perfect weather. We could have, but yet we were the home of the Music Hall of Fame. We still should be, because we're the home of the music. You can move the Hall of Fame, but you can't move the music out of Macon. Macon is still music. It's about music. But yet we don't have an amphitheater. And I remember when I was in office, I said, let's build an amphitheater to support this Music Hall of Fame so that we can have outdoor concerts throughout the year as they do in Atlanta. Why should I have to drive to Atlanta to go to Chastain Park? Why should I have to go to Lakewood? Why do I have to go to Wolf Creek? Even Little Lithonia and Rockdale, they have these amphitheaters where they have music concerts throughout the year. But people couldn't see that. They thought, oh, you just want to spend more money. So those are the kind of quality of life issues that we have to focus on if we are going to. And even recently, I see a gentleman in Warner Robins say he want to build a theme park. But we have out at Lake Tobolsovsky some of the best water. Why don't we have a water park? Why don't we have water slides out there? Why haven't we invested in those type of entities? And I just think we can and we should, if we're going to attract the kind of people to our city and have them to live here and live in harmony with one another. We've got to have a good education system, must have a good economic base where people can get jobs, and obviously quality of life is a major, major part of it. And that's why I created the Music and Heritage Festival when I was in office. Why wouldn't we have a music festival every year here with the likes of Otis Red and James Brown? And the first person I invited back is the person that basically put Macon on the map in terms of music was James Brown.
You know, to let people know that James Brown is from Macon as it relates to music.
As it relates to music.
You know, a lot of people say he's not from Macon.
But it's where he started.
That's right. He got to start here.
He recorded his first song.
I know.
You know that.
Yeah.
You're aware of that. And that's why I said, they said who do you want to be the first act? We want to try to get Gladys Knight, she's from Georgia. No. I want James Brown. He agreed to come here for $56,000. We put on a free concert in front of City Hall where everybody could come. And secondly, I said, we got to bring Little Richard. Of course, Little Richard was kind of upset with me because he didn't want the first one. But as it worked out, I'm kind of glad I did bring James, because James, I'm not saying he would have met his demise, but he was a bigger star than Richard at that time, you know. And but Richard did come. Richard only cost us $40,000, James $56,000, right. So he's a bigger star. And we made sure we brought other country and western, because that's been here too. So yes, we need to promote what we have, inspire other children to look toward entertainment, the music industry, and how they can be a part of it. All the hip-hop music doesn't have to be in Atlanta. We can have studios right here. It's expensive in Atlanta to do, but they're all there, and we should get some of them to come here.
Well, we're going to extend the time of the show. You know, you're going to make you double the time, but I think that it's important, you know, that all of the candidates have an opportunity. And just talking to you, I see 15 minutes too short. So let's just take a break, and we'll be right back.
Okay.
And let you double the time over.
Well, thank you.
We'll be right back. Hi, this is Alex Habersham, your host for A Call to Action. Happy to report to the community that we're going to be doing a series of interviews with all of the mayoral candidates in an effort to keep the community informed on the important issues surrounding our city and our county. So tune in and join us for a call to action interviewing the mayoral candidates. Look to see you here. This is a call to action.
A call to action.
I'm your host, Alex Habersham. Thanks for joining us. This is the first in a series of interviews that we're going to have with the mayoral candidates. And I am welcoming again to the show Mayor Ellis, the former mayor for 2 terms of Macon, and we've had some very, very good conversation. And he has addressed, his views on economic development, race relations, education, and quality of life. But I guess we're going to move more into specificities to the extent that we're going to ask him what did he do, what has he done when you were mayor of this great city, and what do you project that you will do as the new mayor of the consolidated government. And I think you need to editorialize a little bit on your feelings on whether this can be made to work.
Yeah.
Since it's a new process,
Sure.
a change happens, and it's water over the bridge, really.
Yeah.
So, just talk about it.
That's right. It must work. We have to, all of us. When I say we, everyone in the city must be committed to making it work. We can't tear this house down now. We're building this house. Now, we had our say, the voters spoke, we have spoken, we have committed ourselves to consolidation. I've committed myself to making it work, whether I'm in or out of government. I'm going to support, but I hope, I plan on being in.
Okay.
And we're going to make this work. It's a new day in Macon. There are some things about it that I didn't like. I voiced those opinions, and I was heard, but yet the voters spoke. And that's where we are now. Now, as far as, I'm very proud of the accomplishments that we had while I was in office. And it took a lot of people working with me, not just me. But I obviously was they say the speed of the captain, the speed of the crew. So I had a vision, laid it out, asked people to catch the vision. That was my slogan, catch the vision, and a lot of them did. But we know that elections are about the future, not necessarily past. But we're very proud of our accomplishments. We said that we would build a convention center hotel in February of 2000. I was sworn in December of 99. I met with City Council over at the Centralplex. I said, we got to build a hotel. We can't have a convention center. They said, no, we're here not connected to a hotel. It took 8 years, but I broke ground for that before I left office, a $37 million economic development. My only regret, and I'm sorry my regrets didn't contact you to make this happen. I had an ironclad, supposedly, memorandum of understanding that of that $37 million, which $12 million with taxpayers' money, $25 million in private investment, that we would do 30% women and minority-owned businesses for that, from painting to buying towers or whatever. But I left office, it didn't happen. We wound up with $100,000, I think. One local painter got a $100,000 contract, which is absurd. But that's water under the bridge. That's gone. We'll never let that happen again. We were able to buy the terminal station for 2 reasons. We bought it because we wanted to make it a multimodal facility, that we knew that trains were in the city's future again. We're going to have trains running between Macon and Atlanta. I spoke about that at the time we purchased. Everybody wanted to know, why does he want to buy the terminal station? Because it's a train station. That's why. And we got the county, state, and the federal government to identify it to designate it as a multimodal facility, which meant that I could get money to move the buses down there. Anything related to transportation, I could do that. Then I was able to get money to move the driver's license bureau there. So you wouldn't have to stand outside. I got my driver's license in Central City Park, and when I was 16 years old, I came back here in 1989. We were still standing outside getting a driver's license in Central City Park. I said, we're going to do something about it. We did. We have too many public housing projects here. Nothing against people who live in public housing projects. Some of my good friends have lived in one, including this man right here. So there's nothing wrong with that. And our president lives in a public house. So I'm nothing wrong with people living in public housing. But I thought that we need to disperse poverty and do some mixed income. So I went to Washington, D.C., met with HUD, met with Vice President Gore, said I need money to have a Hope 6. I need a Hope 6 grant. And we Oglethorpe Homes was the designated thing. We got the money, we turned it, tore the project down, turned it into a mixed income. It's very facility. It's very successful now. So those are some of the things. But I'll tell you the things I'm most proud of, Alex. When I came in office, I wanted to know why in black neighborhoods or poor neighborhoods, and most happen to be black, not all, but why was poor neighborhoods? Why did we have crumbling sidewalks? Something as simple as sidewalk. Why are these sidewalks crumbling? Why don't we fix them? So I said to the engineering department, I want all these sidewalk faces. Mr. Mayor, you don't understand. I said, why? He said the people living in the house have to pay half of the expense to fix the sidewalk outside. I said, that's nonsense. If I'm a senior citizen little old lady, or a senior citizen little old man, living in South Macon or East Macon, and I'm on a fixed income, and you tell me I'm going to take some of my money and fix the sidewalk, I'll let the sidewalk be cracked up, and that's what happened. But what I did, my first piece of legislation, we can change that. We're going to fix sidewalks just like we fix streets.
You got 1 minute?
Okay.
Say what you
Okay, well, here's what we're going to do. Going forward, we're going to strengthen small businesses. We're going to work with the community at large. We're going to work to bring this community together. We've got to create jobs for people. We're going to support the sheriff, even though the mayor doesn't have direct influence or direct responsibility for public safety, but we must work with the sheriff to make sure that public safety is meted out evenly across the board, and we have to prevent. We're going to put some strong preventive measures in place, but using our parks and recreation system to ensure that our children will have a safe haven after school, and we're going to prevent them from ever having to go to this $15 million juvenile justice center that we're building. We're going to keep them out of there. We want to send them there. I'm glad that it's there, that those who have to use it, but we're going to make sure that we want to put them out of business going forward. So we're going to work on having a safe community, having a good quality of life here, creating jobs, supporting small businesses, and of course, connecting the community. Connectivity in this community is not very well. I try to get from here to Sub-South, walking, riding my bicycle. I can't. But we got to make sure we have connectivity. We're going to invest in our parks and open space. We're going to keep the agricultural land that's available in this town. We can't pave all of it over because that's what creates all the runoff, stormwater, and all. And the new urbanism, Alex, Mr. Habersham, is this: we should be able to feed ourselves in this community. We should be able to grow enough food in this county to feed the people in the county. So those are some of the things I want to work on.
This is a call to action.
A call to action.
And I'm so honored to have had the opportunity to interview Clarence Jack Ellis.
Yes.
Jack.
Yeah.
And I appreciate your information. I appreciate having the opportunity to talk with you, and the voters at least will have something on which to base their decision. Thanks to everybody for listening, and stay tuned for the other mayoral candidates. This is a call to action.
A call to action.
I'm your host, Alex Habersham. Have a great day.
www.makingblackpages.com